Yeah. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Ethers, man. It is your host, David Banks, and I got my co-host with me, Chloe.
Hey
And
y'all.
thank you guys for watching the last episode. If you did not watch it, go ahead and click that button down there, man. You can see all the episodes and the podcast audio if you're not more of a visual person. And
Mhm.
the last episode was about misconceptions, but this one is getting the details about the big six. I know
Big
y'all are
six.
familiar with the big three and all that, so we're gonna do the compiling of that and the tarot versions of that too, and how they correlate as well. So I'm gonna ask, how's your day, Chloe? How you doing?
Oh, thanks. I appreciate a little hi, how are you? Check in. I'm good. Can't
Okay.
complain. A little cloudy over here in New York. I'm ready for hot girl summer. I'm kind of sick of it over here. Either that or I'm just gonna pick up all my stuff and move down south at some point. I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
Definitely, because it's like 82 right now. I'm sweating right now. I'm in the house.
Oh my God, I would prefer that because I'm sitting here like shivering a little bit. I'm like, it's April. Why am I cold, dude? I'm sick of it. Sick of it. I was not, I'm for a January baby. I was not born for this chilly life. I'm meant to be in a bikini on the beach with a coconut somewhere, not here.
Absolutely. I'm from Chicago and I couldn't wait to come down here. Like, yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, living life, can't complain. My boys are happy, my little guinea boys, so they might be a little loud in the background because they ate a little earlier today. Usually I feed them right before this, so they're quiet. But other than that, I'm fabulous. How are you?
I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm cool. Just had to rush the starting of the recording, but we in this thing.
We
So
here. We out
yeah,
here.
we in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and launch this. Let's not waste any time.
Yeah, the ether knows, like, let's do the blueprint. Let's get into the big six. I'm going to talk about how the tarot relates to the big six. We're going to educate and have a great time today. So I'm so excited to hear your breakdown. So let me shut up and let you go.
All right, cool. So when it comes to like the big three, it's okay to actually know that when you're actually relating to someone on
Mm,
a level of first impression, the sun, the moon, and the rising. But
mm.
when it comes to like internally trying to meet somebody in a spiritual sense, you want to get to know someone's Venus, Mercury, and Mars. Um,
Oh.
and I don't know if someone out there is familiar with the term the Merkaba, which is the mind, body, and soul. So that's why I kind of like to relate that to when it comes to the heart, Venus, the mind, Mercury, and your aura, Mars, right? Your
Mm,
soul aura, whatever, right?
mm.
So let's get started with the sun. Chloe with the nice, sexy eyeliner. I got the
Thanks.
sun. I
I
got the
held
sun.
my breath with this eyeliner today. Side note, I was there like, okay.
Gotta be on point.
I can thank 16, 17-year-old Chloe for dedicating herself every day before school at 6 in the morning to making her eyeliner very cunty because I don't think I'd be able to do it as seamlessly 10 years later if it weren't for her and her practice. So cheers to 17-year-old Chloe for slaying back then. So I could slay
A
harder
lot of
now.
I ain't gonna lie, the shading's on point. Like how the
Thank
orange
you.
blends into the yellow.
A bitch know how to blend, okay? Self-taught.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
So when it comes to the sun sign, people misinterpret that as the rising sign because
Mm,
the sun sign is how you act towards
okay.
people, even how you act to the world, right? But on a personality level, how you start showing your characteristics, that is your rising sign, right? So the sun sign typically deals with how you're moving in the world and stuff like that. Sometimes it could dwell into the moon because there's like a filtering system when it comes to that. Like, let's say I just met you on the street, right? And we're sitting there and
Hi, how
chilling.
are you?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? So we're just chilling and stuff. I really haven't exerted my moon side yet because you're just looking at me. You know what I'm saying? I really haven't shown you my personality either. What you're seeing, the first impression, that's the sun, right? But
Mm.
usually when I start talking and personalizing, that's my true first impression.
Oh, I
Some
thought the rising was kind of like how you carry yourself throughout the world and like how people interpret you, no?
True to an extent, because the sun sign is like how that person acts to you, right? But how I'm
Mm,
seeing you, like, or not me seeing you, how people see you, on
mm.
the first impression, but how you act, that's your
Oh,
first
so it's
impression.
like the core how you conduct yourself type shit.
Correct, correct.
Gotcha.
So you're right. The first impression how you're perceived is the rising sign,
Mm.
but how you're,
You
you
present how you choose to present yourself to the world
is
is
the
more the
sun.
song. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
Correct.
Got it.
Um, So you can really tell if you once you get really really good at astrology and stuff like that, you can really determine people's sun sign off rip because
Hmm.
there's certain traits that people exert as well that just make oh wait you a Scorpio ain't you? You really ain't talking in the
I'm
back.
gonna be unstoppable as a psychic once I'm able to clock someone's sign right off the bat. It's like a magic trick. I'm gonna be like, "You're this," and they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, you know?" I'm like, "Because I just know, bitch." Crazy.
I
I feel
mean
like that was always the part that I struggled with. So I feel like as we're doing this more and like you're educating me more, the more I'm like, oh my God, people are gonna be so shook.
my ratio is like 8 out of 10 when I'm guessing, and
That's
sometimes
phenomenal though.
I usually throw a curveball sometimes if I can't determine. I throw like three sun signs out there because I'm like, you got to be some element at
Yeah,
least. If
one of those is in there. Yeah.
I get the element right, I'm on point.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the sun sign, that's the most surface level thing people try to use to connect and then stereotype and stuff. Just like the last episode, if you haven't seen it, go back to it.
Insert my frog punching.
Right, you want to go see that mug. So that's the sun sign, right? Of how
Mm,
it is in the world. Now, your most inner deep subconscious is the moon sign. That's your true
mm,
self, right? So when it comes to your moon sign, sometimes a lot of the times, this is how a lot of relationships get misconstrued because this is
mm.
how people be like, oh, you're so heartless or whatever. But no, if you actually look at their natal chart, then you can actually see why they may be, a little nonchalant at times. They probably have an air moon.
Be so heartless.
You know what I'm saying? Enter the Kanye meme. And then
In the night. Sorry, I could sing that whole song. Sorry.
no, that's a cool reference. Into the night. It's darkness because it's the void of your soul type shit.
Mm,
And it's like a lot of people misinterpreting relationships because, you may have a earth moon. I think it's really important to an extent. It may not be important to you, but like for people to actually understand like their partner at least or themselves that you
mm.
should actually look at your natal chart and see how or why that you feel some type of way or how you react because the moon sign's about reaction, right? So
That's
if
a
I
good
did you
point. If you're having trouble creating awareness around yourself in certain ways, I feel like your birth chart really is a great place to start because you're going to be able to see what you resonate with and what you don't if you're trying to like know thyself, but you like don't know how to meditate and like get in there. I feel like the birth chart is a great like external thing to help trigger that awakening almost.
absolutely, absolutely.
Mm.
I did Chloe's friends reading yesterday.
Shout out to Taylor. I love
Shout out to
you.
Taylor when you're watching. Shout out to you. Thank you for the beautiful improvement of the background too. Thank you so.
T.
Um, so when I was doing her reading, it's really interesting how she would go on tangents and stuff. I don't even want to call it that, but she was expanding herself when it comes to like certain things I was like referring to when I did a reading, like her moon sign and shit like that. And
Mm.
she really paused on those, the moon sign when I got to the Venus part, because those are really
Mm.
crucial and for the heart, anyways, the moon and the Venus.
Mm.
But yeah, I think people should really look into that because it can unlock some shit you never known about yourself and for your friends.
See,
So
that's some astrology right there. If I've ever heard
and
it.
and the rising, that's the first impression of how people perceive you. That's your aura. That's the thing that brings a little flair. You make some
Mm.
rice, put some Cajun in that bitch. The Cajuns, it makes it kick. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
oh, share the analogy you told me.
Oh, shout out to Dolo the Pilot Man. This is his analogy. This is not mine. I can't take credit, but it makes the most sense. So if you don't understand about the sun, moon, and rising, the perfect analogy I've heard was a car, right? And you're the owner. So imagine the car is your sun sign. That's the first thing people see first. But as you're coming close to the road, you see the personality or the paint job.
The
That's
drip.
the drip, the motherfucking drip. That's the drip. That's
Mm.
your rising sign, the personality, the flair to it. And then the driver yourself is the moon, the internal. You're in the car.
That
So
helped me so much. I'm such a like visual learner, and it was like all of the pieces just came together that moment. I was like, it was incredible.
it's an awesome analogy. Shout out to him. I use that a lot when I'm actually interpreting or like when I'm telling people about that stuff. So it really does help.
Hmm.
Um, Also, with the rising sign, that can come out a lot more and that can fuel your moon sign, right? So let's say you have an Aries rising Pisces moon, right? So you may have a sense of a boiling energy when it comes to like how you react to people, and they be like, well, you must be a Scorpio moon. Nah, it could be a combination of some shit too. On a personal level, you're a hothead, but it could be fueled with the moon, right? And you'd be like, oh damn, this guy must be a super high. Like, nah, it's just where you're filtering your energies through. That's why when it comes to your actual natal chart, it's really important to actually look at it, because some signs and placements react to other placements. Like for example, my Aries is in Mars. That deals with driven ambition and desire, right? But that can overlap into something if I'm too driven. It's kind of like having your
Mm.
chakras, right? If you have your throat chakra too open or too swollen, you talk too much. But if it's too closed, you know what I'm saying, you're quiet. It's not going to overlap none. So it's like that concept. So my Mars is in Aries, I may be too hot headed, and then that can overlap to maybe my moon sign, maybe
Yeah, it's like if an energy is too
aggressive.
concentrated, it's gonna expand and to bleed into other parts of you almost.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Mm.
So yeah, so be careful. Check your charts, y'all. It's
Check
important.
your charts.
Got your medical records. Get your birth records. All right, some birth records. All right.
And that's on Dr. Banks.
Check out that song on Spotify, by the way. Um,
We're actually not licensed medical professionals, by the way. Disclaimer.
disclaimer: do not listen to anything medical from me. All
This is
right,
for pure entertainment and self-reflection purposes only.
facts. So we covered that, the whole basis of that. I think that's a big, common concept with those. So I'm gonna go into the internal aspects of the big six, which is Venus, Mercury, and Mars. Might be a different order because of Miss Chloe. She written it down different. So, babe, if I'm messing up, let me know.
No, that's okay. However you explain it, we're going to touch on it again with me anyway.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna start with Venus. So Venus correlates with the heart to like the extent of how you show love, right?
Hmm.
Venus it rules Libra and Taurus. So before I even go on for that, so the people that don't know, certain planets can have two signs, or they can rule two signs, and um, two signs can share a planet. Kind of the same thing if you think about it, but yeah. But when you do interpret those things, it's like day and night. Libra's the day version of Venus, Taurus is the night version of Venus, because it's about exerting, and then you drawing it in, receiving and giving, right? But the Venus concept itself is love and romance. So look in that part of your chart of what planet, I mean not what planet, what sign that you have your Venus in, and then that determines how you interpret your love, whether it be yourself, depending on what house it's in, or how you deal with people. Now, if you want to do a compatibility chart or a love chart or a love reading, you can hit us up. You can look in the description down below, get a reading from one of us. Um, so when it comes to that, it's very important to determine like what it doesn't have to be romantic either. You can have a love in anything. It kind of correlates with passion, but not really. It's not a visionary drive. It's more like, romantic. So when you do look in your chart, just make sure you look out for that. To just determine what kind of love.
Okay.
If you ever get confused on the planets, it's like creating an equation, right? So if you are confused about Venus, just think I love. That's it, right? I love. And that's really it with Venus. And then what will be next for you on your list? Mars or Mercury?
I mean, you're already out of order, so just keep going with what you're doing.
Oh, really? All right. So I'm gonna go with Mercury, right?
I knew because I knew that it was already programmed in your head to speak on it this way, so I kind of anticipated that that's what it would be anyway. But that's okay because by the time we get to deep dive into me, it's gonna be repetitive anyway, so it's okay.
All right, cool. So
This is where my
Mercury
Capricorn shows, guys. This is a perfect example where I'm like, structure.
facts and my areas, like I'm such a Gemini with the Aquarius moon. I'm like, oh my God, there is a plan, but I'm programmed
You're
already.
like, I could float over here, float over here. And I'm like, yeah, but there's a reason why I'm doing it this way. But like, I think that this is a perfect example of just because him and I are very different in this way, doesn't mean it's not possible to understand and respect and accept these parts of each other. It's not he's right or I'm right. It's just different ways of being.
Ooh, perfectly said. Hello. So, good breakdown, by the way. So
Thank you.
with Mercury, Mercury, like I said before, Venus, if you don't want to say Venus, say I love. So with Mercury, you would say I think. It's how you
Mm,
think on a mental state and how you structure your mentality, right?
mhm,
So Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. Gemini is the more impulsive side when it comes to thinking. Think of Hermes, the Greek god. It's speeding bullet. But Virgo's the dark side of Hermes. It's a speeding bullet too, but it's internal speed. That's why they're so
mm,
detail oriented. They got to make sure down to the molecule, they got to be on point. And Geminis, we're more
mm,
outward with it. You know what I'm saying? Um, so when it comes to Mercury, wherever it is in your chart, just say I think, and then for example, Mercury and Aries, I think, boom, I think I have a desire, and in whatever house it's in, like the second house, the things that I value, I think about my desire. So anything I desire and have value with, I think about it all the time. Boom, that's how you do an equation
mm.
like that. If you don't want to do the planets, you can just insert them words. You know what I'm saying? Mercury is a very speedy planet. When it has a fire sign attached to it, you kind of move through life too fast. That creates a
Mm.
little bit of self-sabotage energy. Same with the inverse. If it's like, um, for example, like
I
let's
don't
say,
remember what's in my Mercury.
I'm not sure, babe.
Here, you keep talking. I'm going to look it up so that way you can use me as an example. Go
Cool,
on.
because I was gonna say it's the inverse, where it's like, let's say a Mars has an air energy. It's the same thing, except instead of thinking fast, you're moving fast. So because Mars is already a driven thing.
Oh,
What
wait.
is it?
Yeah. My Mars is in Aquarius. My Mercury is in Sag.
Okay, boom. See, perfect example. I'm gonna use you, right? So Mercury is already like an airy, earthy planet, mostly air because Gemini kind of overtakes it because it's the daytime energy. But since it has a fire on it, you're traveling fast because Sag is about traveling on a spiritual, mental, or physical level to an extent. More spiritual than anything, though. But
Hmm.
you're moving, you're traveling too quick, trying to be spiritually inclined too quick. You might fall in an abyss and fall to your doom. So you might want to watch out. Or,
No, thankfully, I went there and I got out of it. But I was there for the last like 4 years.
you know what I'm saying? Boom. And then what was you said your Mars is in
Aquarius, I think.
Aquarius. Okay, so
Hmm.
you're
In,
moving,
in the eighth house, to be specific.
in the eighth house. So internally you're moving um in a way where it's like you're moving faster than your peers. Like you have more drive than your peers. That's what it basically means. So Mars will be the desire. Aquarius
Mm.
energy is how you are dealing with your community or friends or family. And then eighth house is the internal deep dive of yourself.
Mm.
So internally you feel like you're moving faster than your peers. Boom.
T.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how you can use these planets and signs as an equation. It's kind of like math for all my mathematicians out there. Um, so yeah, that's how.
Oh, y'all, you got to get a reading with Banks. Do you know how validating that was for me just now? It's like unreal because I always like, especially when I was in the thick of that, I was literally looking up to spirit like, I can't be the only one. Why is nobody else doing this other than me? And so I really did feel like I wasn't connecting with people. because I was like in so deep in that part of my journey and I felt like I was like alone in that. So like hearing that, that was in my stars to begin with. Like, here we go. It's nice at least to
Exactly.
know.
Exactly. Like it's all written. It's like, yeah, it's all written. So energies don't lie for sure. And so that's the Mercury. That's the I think, right? So Mars, like I just kind of interpreted, it deals with desires and stuff, but in certain concepts, since it shares uh Mars shares it's two signs that are ruled by Mars. Sorry. It's Aries and Scorpio. Scorpio is more the sexual desires or things that are more behind the scenes, but it's like when a Scorpio pops out and do something, you can tell that they've been working on something once they change their appearance, maybe, or their structuring or something
Mm.
like that, because they're fixed, right? But they're also ruled by Pluto because they're constantly going to be changing. So that's why they may be a little different when they do pop out. But behind the scenes, they're already conducting their desires. They don't go out like an Aries and conduct their desires because Aries is the daytime of Mars. So with the Aries energy, you're already out there like a fucking meteor or the ethers, you feel me? So when it comes to Mars, when it comes to the sexual concept, that's the bedroom energy. So for y'all freaky motherfuckers out there, check
We
your
see
Mars.
you.
We see you. I'm one of them because my Mars is in Aries. Because when Mars is in a fire, when it's ruled by a fire element or Scorpio, it brings out more sexual desires and stuff like that. If you're air Mars, you may be you're more open to the sexual shit. And then if you're Earth Mars, a little dry. All right.
Not the vanilla.
Super vanilla. Sorry. Still love y'all though with all my
There's a place for you. It's just you're gonna have to find someone who can match that.
facts or someone that can help you bring it out, depending on your whole chart layout. But
Mm.
also minus the sexual things. When
Mm.
it does come to Mars, you want to make sure you don't self-sabotage, aka self, because Mars deals with the self. It's more on an individual level, not like Aquarius, because the Aquarius wants to look like that they can stand alone even within a group, aka individuality. That's different than
Mm.
actually standing alone. Okay.
Mm.
But when it comes to the Aries sign, they're gonna be by themselves regardless. Like if you bring them on the team, that's cool, but eventually they're gonna stray away and lead by example if nobody wants to do anything in the group versus the Aquarius energy when they do the individualism, they want to make sure that that they are the best in the group. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, you're doing something a little different, or AKA unique, because they're ruled by Uranus. So it's gonna be unique on how they do it. Aquarius claim to be, humanitarians and stuff like that. So they're very community oriented, or they could be the toxic ones and then act like a Leo sometimes and that make sure that they get they stardom too. But that's neither here or there. But when it also comes with the Mars energy, make sure you don't burn yourself out because if you have a Mars in your chart and it has an air signature on it, like let's say you're a Mars Gemini, right? Um, you're gonna burn through life too quick. You're thinking too quick. You know what I'm saying? You're self-sabotaging too quick. You probably down yourself too much, like to a point where it's like, even if you do get validation, it's like, nah, I could do something better. But it's like, what if it's sound advice though? You'll never know. Or if you have a Earth signature, like let's say you're a Mars Taurus, you're not gonna do much. You'll have all the creativity in the world to do something, but it may seem like you need something to give you morale. Like, dude, you know you can do that or whatever. But it's
Yeah,
like
like
they're
the determination is not really. Go
there.
ahead.
They have to
Okay.
be their own cheerleader. You can have a whole team pump you up, but it's like if that Mars Taurus ain't gonna do it, then they ain't gonna do it for real. It has to be a reason. Now, if you have a water Mars minus Scorpio, then it's like you're more inclined to be angered a lot, depending on like let's say you're a Cancer Mars, right? Super moody, super moody. Jesus Christ, y'all are moody. Like usually they can be moody, but this is like angry moody, like
Like
ooh,
quick-tempered.
like schizophrenic, like like not well that too, but it's like when they mood switch, it's like passionate mood switch. Like they could be extremely happy and then extremely sad.
Oh,
You
so
know,
it's the contrast be contrasting, where it
hard.
almost doesn't look like they're the same person.
Exactly. But they're very artistic people. Like Mars Cancers, some of the coldest artists ever. If they do have that, if they have a Mars Water in general, super creative, and Mars Fire. But that water sign does something to Mars. I don't know. So that's the whole gist of the big six. If you guys are ever on a date with someone, and I know typically like some of my friends, they would ask like someone that they're on a date with, "Oh, what's your big three?" And I'll be telling them, "Look, next time you go on another date, ask them about that big six.
Where's
You
your
need to know,
Mercury?
yeah, what that Venus at? Where that Mars at?
Yeah, especially for
Huh?
dating. Where's your Venus?
Yeah,
Sounds kind of dirty.
yeah, it sounded dirty. I'm like, oh, you can definitely see my Venus shit.
Hey, yo.
Shit.
Put the bleep, the cut. Okay, y'all, we back.
It does.
Don't worry, nothing crazy happened while we cut. I wish, but shout out to Mr. David Banks. Thanks so much for deep diving into the big six. I learned a lot. I hope everyone else learned a lot. It was very enlightening.
No problem, baby girl.
Thank you, Master. So I'm gonna kind of go through because I realized like initially this was just gonna be a you-led episode for us, and then I was like, wait a minute. I think some of these tarot cards actually solidly like correlate with these planets. So let me do some research. So I
Okay.
did, and I got some answers. The obvious ones is the sun and the moon. So we're going to start off there. And I have the cards with me here. Okay. So this is the sun card, everybody.
Ooh.
Little like beauty influencer moment, put the hand behind, kind of thing.
Okay.
And kind of like you said, this is core, so to speak. So I basically kind of realized that it's the almost spiritual essence of the sun sign. So it's like the joy, the vitality, the how you want to show up in the world, your passion, what your inner child almost resonates with, so to speak, and how you kind of put yourself out into the world. It's illuminating, which makes sense why it's kind of what you want to display. It's like what's radiating from your spirit, so to speak. So
Okay.
it does kind of work with the sun sign there. It's also self-alignment and alignment with life overall. I feel like both of them kind of correlate with that. Joy, confidence, that kind of thing. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. So I'm not going to deep dive into that because I don't think that's the most interesting one here, although we love the sun sign. And then we have the
Ooh.
moon card.
Okay.
This
Oh,
is
that's
the
neat.
Right? So I always think it's interesting because something about the moon card is you're so focused on looking at the moon, these dogs, that you're like the subconscious part of you is really kind of this lobster and is like going on the path. So it's like pay
Huh.
attention to what is happening within you and what your direction you're being called to go in, and don't kind of get caught up in the illusions, so to
Okay.
speak, which is very much that moon sign energy, right? It's that subconscious, it's the things lying beneath the surface. It's almost like if anyone has seen like those consciousness like diagrams, it's like an iceberg is your consciousness and your awareness, and like what's below the surface is your
Ah,
subconscious and then your
I love
unconscious.
those videos.
Yeah, so those
Yeah.
are really helpful. So that's kind of like I feel like the moon card is almost your embodiment of your moon sign's journey,
Yes. Ooh, nice.
right? So I feel like that was a good kind of parallel. It's how you kind of navigate through life, which gives me driver energy. And
Yeah.
and what
See?
you said, um, it also means like dreams and illusions and the unknown and things like that. Sorry guys, if I'm glancing down, your girl has a memory of a goldfish, okay? So I came prepped
Do your
today.
thing, baby. Do your thing.
She's cheating. Fake
Boo.
tarot reader. Crazy, great, crazy work. Um, but mostly because I also was learning how they connect to the planets. So that's why I wanted to give you guys kind of more accurate information from what I've realized, in addition to what I already kind of know, which is more so about the cards themselves, right? Um,
Okay.
so that's kind of the moon. So I felt like that was a good kind of connection, especially when I feel like it's kind of like that because your subconscious can drive you as a person. So if you bring light to your subconscious and make it conscious, then it's almost like, instead of, if you're a conscious driver and you know what you're doing, because you know the difference between when you're driving and you're not be aware that you're driving. You're like, how did I get here so fast?
Zoned. Yeah.
Right. So, but if you're like on and you're driving, my dad always says this thing, be an offensive driver, not a defensive driver.
Yep.
Okay, so
Always.
it gives very much that energy. So the key is to figure out where you are with your moon sign and be the driver, consciously going in the direction of what it is
Okay.
you want, and not just being on autopilot. Okay, got to get out of that.
Gotta get out
So
of that.
gotta get out of that. So kind of like what you touched on earlier when I asked the question between the difference between the sun and the rising and how people perceive you. The card that correlated with kind of the ascendant and the rising sign in terms of like how people perceive you was actually the Fool.
That makes so much sense. Because what the first impression would be like, it's not what it is, like, oh, I think she's mean, but she's actually nice. You were fooled.
Oh, I
Mm.
didn't even think of it in that way, but yeah, you're right. And
Oh,
the
really? That's
yeah,
not.
that was not how
Oh,
I put
really?
it, but I like that. It's like it can be a little bit like you're jumping to conclusions in a way. It's like people are viewing your approach to life or like a first impression, but you're right. Their rising can be a little fooling
Ooh.
because what you perceive to be how they are, they might be more like their sun or their moon, especially their moon. So that's
Mm.
very
That's
interesting.
interesting. That is
Cute
interesting.
little play on words there, babe. I didn't think of that.
Hey, I was just using my intuition.
Period. But the other interesting thing about the Fool, and the same thing about kind of your rising, is it's the start. It's the beginning.
Yeah, that makes sense. The zero, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I'm learning.
And
See, I'm learning. I'm
yeah, that little zero
learning.
up top, so it really is how people kind of see you and what you're willing to do in this world. So that's kind of the correlation to the astrology. The card in of itself is a little more like taking a leap of faith, starting something new. It's the fool's journey. It literally is the start of the tarot. It's like, even has the little dog there. And I feel like the dog is almost like, hey, make sure you look before you leap and you're not too like eager to kind of like jump into things, a little bit. But it's also supposed to be this exciting thing, but it's also a little bit of a, hey, be aware of where you are.
Mm. And it's interesting. Every time I look at these pictures, they say more than what the image actually is. Like you'll see the bigger like image that it's supposed to display, but the things on the sides, it's like, wow, that adds more to it. That's interesting to me.
And I'm someone who I didn't learn tarot like through the imagery, but the colors have meaning. It's not just the suits and the regular image, but I still find myself catching little details in the cards that are significant, that I'm like, oh, I didn't clock that before. And then it's interesting because it does add to the depth of the energy around that card and the energy that's coming out in your life for sure.
And I remember you was telling me about, I think it was the Queen of Cups. Anyway, it was
Mm.
the detail on her chair.
Yeah,
Do you remember
the
that?
kid, dude,
Yeah.
that
I was
shocked
like,
me. I don't
damn, I didn't
think
even see that.
Yeah, it's like up here, I think. It's hard to see in that one, but I'll insert a picture here of what we're talking about. But yeah,
Appreciate
it's
it.
interesting. It's like things are still being shown to me, even as someone who's looked at these cards for a long time. You know what I mean? So it's
Interesting.
interesting in that way. So those are kind of the big three. Now we get to kind of dive into the big six, the remaining three a little bit. So my order is going to be a little bit different than Banks's order, which is okay. I'm going to start with Mars because the Mars is connected to the Emperor.
Big Emperor energy, you feel me? We
Big
love
Emperor
the Emperor
energy.
energy.
This is divine masculine, okay? The Emperor is associated You're gonna love this, babe. With Aries, which is ruled by Mars.
Yep,
Look
yeah.
at me learning shit. Okay.
Nice. And
And
it makes sense too,
Aries is like
because
the
it lands on his
initiator.
spirit. Yeah.
Very much so. And I feel like the initiator of the Emperor, and the same thing with that kind of like Mars energy, is the driving force, so to speak. So it's the I am energy, like I am doing this type shit.
And by the way, yeah, that's exactly what I was saying before. I don't know if I did say it, but that's what I was saying. I am when you do the whole equation with the chart. I am. That's basically what Mars is. Go ahead, babe.
Yeah, but it was interesting because you did it in the Venus, like I am love, but I was saying I am in terms of this. So when you said that, I was like, oh, that's true. It does kind of correlate with the divine feminine and masculine, and I'll get into the Empress next, which is very much that and Venus, right? So those were probably the only main things, is like that I am force, right? It's the structure, stability, initiation, energy, moving forward, clear vision, leadership, all that good jazz. A directive energy, I feel like, is very
Mm,
parallel with Mars and the Emperor, and like overall authority energy,
okay.
like I'm going there, like I know what the fuck I'm doing type shit. So there's a
Indeed.
confidence with it too, which I feel like
Indeed.
goes with both of them very much so. So I thought that was very interesting. A willpower was the other thing.
Yes,
That's another good
absolutely.
word to kind of explain that Mars and Emperor energy, so to speak.
Good. That's it.
Clarity. Next up is the divine femme herself, Miss
Yes,
Empress.
ma'am.
One of my personal favorites. Okay, this is Venus.
Oh, okay. Word, word. We like that, and the logos on the chair too, just in case y'all need another interpretation of that.
Yes, clock it. It's very much there in your face. And the Empress is kind of like that Mother Nature energy, which kind of goes with that Taurus shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So both love, both attract, both receive, sensuality, birthing, creativity, new ideas, children, if you will, are a byproduct of love most of the time. You know
Most.
what I mean? But in its pure spiritual form, that's what it's meant to be, an expression and a creation of
Oh,
divine feminine and masculine love.
okay.
You know what I mean? So the Empress is more in that receiving energy, like I said, versus, the Emperor, which is more in that doing energy. So it's very much like action and inaction. That's not to say that
Mm,
the Empress doesn't do, right? She's a nurturer. She's still giving. But the Empress gives me like, I'm sitting on my throne, bitch. I don't need to get up and do anything.
right. You come to me.
I be it.
Oh.
And that's really what it is, though. But everyone has both of these energies in them. It's just
Absolutely.
it's coming into balance with them. And, you know, I don't always think gender has such a big thing to do with it, but it just kind of depends on you as a person, which one you lean more towards. But I would say you don't want like an 80-20, like a 60-40. You know what I mean? Like you still want to be able to, because you can't give and not receive. They're ever flowing. So you need both of those. But it's very much going with the natural cycles of life. I know that the card does associate with Taurus, but I know it also associates with Libra
Yes.
energy too. So I feel like that's maybe more with like where that pleasure and like sensuality kind of comes in
Hello.
a little bit, type shit. But like
Yeah.
the grounded stability and nurturing, and mother energy, I feel like is probably more with that Taurus. So that's the one where both of those kind of live with the
Okay.
Empress too. So I think that's all I have for the Empress. And the last, but certainly not least, is Mercury. And this one I thought was the most interesting, which is the Magician, which is
Nice.
which is the after the Fool is the next card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was seeing if the other cards it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it doesn't. So excuse me. The Mercury is the mind, right? What you
Mm-hmm.
think. The Magician is kind of the mind in action.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, it's very much that cultivation energy, that transformative energy, that alchemy energy.
Mm.
It's taking the ideas and the thoughts in Mercury and like materializing them or manifesting them into physical.
My favorite shit.
Yes. And like the magician has all of the elements in it too, which I
Oh,
wonder
that's
if,
dope.
so it's the wands, the cups, the pentacles, the swords. And it's interesting looking at it like this because it's like I clock certain things about it too. Like there's probably significance in everything down here, but it really is like that growing of the idea and like having that vision, right? The alchemy transformation, just bringing in that invisible energy to something that's visible,
Mm.
essentially. And I feel like Mercury, because it's very much like thinking and what your mind is focused on, because it really is like you get what you think about, bitch. You manifest what you think about. So the
Fact,
magician
that's a
being
motherfucking fact.
so man, like the fact that the magician is connected to the mind in that Mercury way makes so much sense because this is like the manifestation card in the tarot.
Okay.
So it being connected to your thoughts, I think, is very significant.
Oh, absolutely. That makes so much sense to me.
Yeah. So that's really it. I just thought it would be fun to kind of circle it back to tarot in that way and show the correlations because I didn't know as in depth about the astrology aspect of it because like that's where I as a reader like I've always been very intuitive but I didn't have a lot of education until you sir around like the real details of astrology and a lot of the science and things like that, so that was kind of fun for me to learn a little bit and connect it back in that way. And that kind of,
Likewise.
yeah, that kind of just wraps up that side of things. And we did talk about in our first episode that we were going to do a little celestial check in here and there, get a little astrology, a weather report, and then we were going to
Yes,
pull
ma'am.
some cards for the current energy. So I'm going to hand it back to you and you can fill us in on the astrology.
All right, y'all. All right. Get your cups ready because I'm about to pour a lot in here. So, as everyone knows, Venus retrograde, Venus is out of here. It packed up, taking his ass back home. She had a nice stay for a month. She taking her ass
Going
home.
home.
Mercury, his ass, he's staying here till the 15th. So you're gonna see him throughout the weekend. All right.
That's
Um,
funny.
with the current energies right now, we're still in Aries energy, but the moon right now is in Virgo. So basically, that means anything that's going to drive you, you're going to work super hard towards it. You may have experienced more health problems because you're so maybe focused on that work, but maybe you should calm down a little bit and try not to overwork yourself this time around. These next 2 to 3 days, if you're feeling super amped to like do that thing you forgot to do, try to relax and slow down. You know what I'm saying, during that time period. So just make sure you're relaxing, okay? And if you're gonna do something, make sure you're slow about it. I heard Neptune's coming through in the next retrograde. Neptune's bringing his La La Land ass back through here. Um,
Not the La La Land ass crazy.
look, Neptune's that one cousin that be tripping too hard, wants you to go.
Stumbling in the doorway like I'm here.
Like, dude, what's up? You ready to chill? No, dude.
Go home,
No.
Neptune.
Like, not today, but that's not going to come around for like maybe, I think that's going to come either next month. I'm not sure. I got to look at my notes, but it's coming up soon. I heard Saturn retrogrades popping up too. Um, but for the most part, that's all the Charlotte T I got today. Um, yeah.
Thank you for the weather report. Very helpful. I threw all those cards back in here. So I have my cards. I have no room on my desk, you guys. So I'm gonna like shuffle to the side. Okay. So I'll show you the cards when they come out, but I actually have no room to like lay it out on the floor there. But
Do
Spirit's
your
gonna
thing.
expand upon the Astrolo-tea and 3 cards shot out right away.
Wow, ain't that something?
I'm the real deal, baby.
I already know.
King of Wands on the
Okay.
bottom of the deck. Okay, this is giving like you are really passionate about your vision, right? You're out there wanting to plan and do and got
That
that fire.
that's crazy. What? That's
I
crazy.
can't, spirit doesn't lie.
Oh, that's wild. What the wow. For the listeners out there that don't watch it, it's just wild how accurate that is. Okay, wow.
Yeah, very much the overall energy. Like you got the vision, you're in like wanting to execute mode. But the key to this and the advice on that is trust that there are a lot of details that you don't have to be really in for them to work themselves out. It's giving, let
What the
go
hell?
and trust the unfolding a little bit. Okay. With that being said, slow down with that chariot in
Wow.
reverse.
What the hell? Whoa! Spirit don't
I
lie.
have goosebumps, and very much like the Hierophant is that higher wisdom and learning, right? It's trusting spirit that like you don't have to do it all. It
Okay.
gives the energy of like a lot of the work is already done and you're obsessing too much or trying to go too full steam ahead and you need to fucking relax, like you said. That's very much
Yeah.
what this gives. Spirit's like, hey, you're not going to get the results you want if you keep doing that. You're not
Period.
going to hear the divine guidance. It's your mind telling you, I got to, this message is for me too, which is ridiculous. Um,
Thank you. Me too.
it's what it be, but that's the energy, I think, for the collective
Hmm.
really right now, and we're in that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so it's giving like it's okay. It's like in the chariot, upright, going forward like that. Sometimes you got to give your team and yourself like a pause. You got to. It's almost
Oh,
like you're got to replenish that energy before you. It's like you know what everyone's doing in the collective right now with this energy. They're pushing their out of gas car.
yeah. Everyone pushing it up the hill, or they still think they're gonna. No,
They're
dude. No.
panicking. They're panicking. There's like there's no gas in here. I got to get there. I'm going to struggle my way there because that's how I think I need to do it, right? And then spirit's like, if you just stopped and smelled the flowers and like sat in the sun for a second, someone would just come by and give you some gas for your car.
Exactly. Just wait.
It's
That
like just allow it. Like don't stress because and the other card that came out with that was the 3 of Pentacles, which is work and working with
is
other
crazy.
people and allowing help from other people.
Wow. The cards and the stars don't lie, baby.
Oh,
Wow.
and not the whole Ace of Cups being underneath King of Wands there too. Okay. Replenish your cup.
Oh, them cups dry.
Sorry, I shouted so loud to that microphone. Future Chloe, make sure you turn that down so you don't hurt people with headphones. Okay. Thank you so much.
We love you, Spotify.
but it's giving like y'all be pouring from an empty cup. Y'all be pushing this car that's empty. You gotta just allow it to fill up. You
Mm.
got to give yourself permission to pause and nurture yourself a little bit before you proceed because your people will be taking misaligned action with this energy that you're talking about. And I think that's what's causing people to maybe be like, why isn't it working? Why am I not getting to where I want to be? I'm noticing this gap. I'm noticing this gap. I'm noticing this gap. And the more you're focusing on the gap, the more you're perpetuating the gap, you guys. Come on.
Mm.
So I feel like don't beat yourself up for that because you've been programmed that way to notice it. But the key is trusting not only yourself and your path, but spirit is helping, spirit, source, universe, God, whatever the energy that created us and that keeps us heart beating every day. Okay.
Okay.
That everything is made out of, there's divine orchestration happening. You're a co-creator with the universe. You're not
Mm.
doing it all alone. A lot of the times when you're doing something, there's conversations happening behind closed doors and things coming into fruition in order to come into your experience. But the more you think it's all on you, you're not trusting your source.
Mm.
So in spirit knows that like, hey, like we love you, like ask and it's given, like it's coming. But like the fact that you're so resistant or focusing on trying to control the outcome, the harder it feels to go through your journey. And like you're not loving yourself to give yourself a moment to pause and relax and breathe, knowing that everything's working out for you at any given point in time, whether it looks like it or not.
Ooh, that was clean, babe. That was on point right there.
I can thank spirit. I wish I could take credit, but this gift was given to me. So
Facts.
You know what I mean? But I'm thankful and grateful because I think that if the cards have this ability to reaffirm these things, I think for a lot of people
Absolutely.
and to expand, on that energy, so to speak. But that's your celestial check-in, you guys. You heard it here first.
And that was your astrology tea, and you heard this second.
Had some tarot talk, had some astrology. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This was so fun. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Got a little more
Yep, yep.
insight. I would tell you what we're doing next week, but I don't want to spoil it, so you just have to wonder until next week. Sorry, forgot we're bi-weekly over here. But just know that we stay cooking behind the scenes. You're gonna see the clips though, so don't worry, you'll get little sprinkles of the taste as time goes on to see the full episode. If you ever want a reading, now this was fun because I feel like with your deep dive into the chart and like my deep dive into the tarot like that, y'all see our what we got going on.
We
So
working, and we're gonna keep working. Y'all stay tuned.
and
Within
we working for y'all. So like come to us if you feel called because we can dive into these energies not just for the collective but for everyone personally to probably shed light on a lot of things going on and help bring the collective awareness up into the ethers.